Howdy, howdy. Morning, morning. Awesome, awesome. Well, good. Um, so we got some whippy markets right now, right? S&P can't figure out which way it wants to go here. Even we kind of step back and kind of look at things. If you look at how durable goods orders came out this morning, they were pretty strong actually. So I guess a lot of people out there buying refrigerators and washers and dryers and stuff like that. Um, even if you take out defense spending, it's actually up a little more than that. So we have some strong durable goods orders. On the other side of that, one thing I'm starting to watch kind of closely with all the companies laying people off and even them getting rid of a lot of people out of the government and everything like that. The jobless claims numbers, the initial jobless claims jumped up. Now the continuing jobless claims actually dropped, uh, but the initial jobless claims kind of jumped up a little bit. And my guess is next week when we get those jobless claims numbers, we're going to see that tick up some more. So we're going to get more people on unemployment as they're trying to find out, what to do next. I mean, they let 1,100 people go out of Starbucks, and what was it? Southwest Airlines laid off like 20,000 people or something like that. And I mean, you're getting a lot of companies right now starting to skin out a little bit. So I think we're going to see those jobless claims numbers start perking up somewhat. On the other side of that, the Congress passed a budget. Now, whether it's going to pass the Senate or not, who knows? But they passed a budget thing anyway. That kind of jumped the dollar up, which is what's been kind of beating up gold here lately. If you kind of look at what gold's been doing, I mean, granted, it's still up pretty well, duh. Um, but it has been kind of selling off of its highs, new all-time high not too long ago. What was that, last week? Then they kind of started beating things up a little bit here. So it's coming into some decent support. The question is, do they hold here? Do they want to take this thing down to 2,800? So it'll be kind of interesting to see what they do with gold in here. But the dollar's, was down around 106 on the dollar index, and now it's up here at almost 107.50, which is what's been putting the downside pressure on gold with them, putting out all this budget stuff and cutting the budget, A, and B, trying to attempt, I guess, to cut taxes and stuff like that. So, but it's kind of buoyed that dollar up somewhat, which is kind of interesting, because if you look at uh, bonds here, bonds have been in actually a decent little rally going up. Now, this is on the June bond now, since they just kind of rolled things over. But you've had a nice little rally up here since literally in the middle of January. And usually, as bonds go up, well, not usually, but as bonds go up, interest rates come down. And usually, as interest rates go up, the dollar goes up. Well, now the dollar's going up, and interest rates are still kind of high, even though bonds are kind of pulled back a little bit. Um, we still have interest rates that have kind of dropped, pretty well, and yet the dollar has actually kept itself up a lot. So maybe the dollar is looking at, hey, if we're starting to, you know, decrease spending, that it will support the dollar, and therefore there we go. Of course, Trump wants a weaker dollar. That's always what he's like to have, just because the cheaper dollar allows more people to buy stuff internationally. Um, so we're, as I've been stating, we're kind of just in a really weird zone of what's happening, who's doing what where, and how's everything, all the ramifications from executive orders and what Congress is going to be doing and all the courts. How is that going to kind of spin things around and do things? So, but I mean, the S&P right now really can't figure out what it wants to do. Yeah, no, I guess H right now, but it's still kind of stuck in its range ever since the election. It's just up and down and up and down and up and down. Even though we have this down move in here, um, okay, fine, but it's still holding up pretty well. The thing is, right now, we're below the month open on the S&P at this point in time. We're at 59.82 is the month open. Right now we're at 59.65. But we opened up the year at 59.49, which they keep dipping down and testing that thing. You can kind of see the little lows right in here. Keep whipping down to that year open and flipping it right back around and taking off. And I think we're probably going to continue to see volatility in the equity markets just because of that. You have some stocks that are doing really well. If you look at the Dow this morning, the Dow is very strong today. Of course, you have United Healthcare and 3M and various other ones, Travelers and stuff like that going up. And the Dow is really price weighted. And that's the one thing I don't like about it is that price weighting that's in it. And what I mean by that is if you look at the S&P and the NASDAQ and the Russell, they're all market cap weighted. That means the largest company, regardless of its stock price, is going to move the market the most. There it is, or that index the most is higher weighted based off of that market cap. The Dow is not that way at all. It doesn't care how big the company is. It just looks at its stock price only. So the one with the most expensive stock price is going to move that index the most. And United Healthcare is the most expensive one. Then you have Home Depot and stuff like that. So those really expensive stocks are going to move the Dow the absolute most. So you might have 3 stocks in the Dow, the 3 most expensive stocks moving up, and everybody else is selling off, but it's still going to drag it up just because they have the most influence in that index. And there's only 30 of them. So it doesn't take a whole lot to move that thing. When you talk about 3 stocks, well, that's 10% of the index. So, um, so it doesn't take a whole lot to move that Dow around or manipulate it or whatever you want to call it. So that's why I don't like the Dow all that much. And I don't put a lot of weighting in that. And the funny thing is that's what Wall Street banks everything on. What's the Dow doing now? And I think it's kind of a big farce. You want to know what the markets are doing? Watch the S&P 500, and it'll tell you. It's the big dog in the group. You want to see what the tech guys are doing? Watch the Nasdaq. And it's not the Nasdaq Composite; it's the Nasdaq 100. That's another one that they do in Wall Street to screw everybody up. They have everybody, quoting the Nasdaq Composite. Well, when was the last time you heard about the New York Composite? We talk about apples and apples here, right? Nope. Talk about the Dow 30, which is 30 stocks. Not all those stocks aren't on the New York Stock Exchange. You got 5 of them that are on the Nasdaq. But when they talk about the Dow, it's the New York, and when they talk about the Nasdaq Composite, it's all the stocks on. It's just crazy. So everybody trades the Nasdaq 100. The QQQ is based off the Nasdaq 100. The futures are based off the Nasdaq 100. So just watch the Nasdaq 100, and it'll tell you. So yes, this is being recorded. So, but anyhow, that's the biggest thing when you start looking at how markets are performing. You can pretty much throw the Dow in the trash can. Just watch the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. That'll give you a pretty good idea. Now, of course, if you want to kind of look at a good picture of the market overall, you can watch what bonds are doing, just like we were looking at. Just watch to see how bonds are trading around. There's your interest rates, right? You can watch what crude oil is doing. That's your energy sector, which we use energy and everything. So, I mean, why not watch it? And of course, we have gold, which is basically your fear index. So, the and I always call gold fear indexes. I mean, a lot of people use it as an inflation hedge, but it's also people will be driven to gold as economies get really, really shaky. I mean, it is an asset that's been around for thousands of years, and it's probably is never going to go away. I mean, there's always gold, and that's the thing that's outside of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a mathematically calculated. I mean, literally a string of bits and bytes and stuff like that. Which you lose computers, poof, it's all gone, right? So, but gold's still around. And so I'm not real hip on Bitcoin. I'm not a real big crypto person at all, just because there's nothing backing it at all. I mean, it's just value, what people are giving it value. where gold is an actual asset and it's been around forever and ever. Silver same way, copper's the same way. Heck, wheat and corn's the same way. It's a commodity. It actually exists in life. So, and I can trade corn for something. Bitcoin, as long as it's valued right, you can use it too. But I mean, like I said, computers go away, then your Bitcoin wallet doesn't work and blah, 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 blah. So, not to say it's going to go away. I'm just saying it just has no real asset behind it. So just beware of that. Um, Another thing that I've been kind of keeping my eye on, which I always do, I have been for the past, well, over a year now. Um, this is one of my favorite stocks here of all time. This is Berna. If you don't know anything about Berna Technologies, actually, if you just go to, it's BYRNA, you can go to Berna.com. You've probably seen advertisements or heard advertisements about them. They actually make it's a paintball gun. If you want to think about it, it's a pistol. They actually have rifles too, but they shoot paintballs. But they have one that's really hard. They call it a kinetic, and it's used for self-defense. They have one paintball that's full of tear gas, and another one's full of pepper spray. And then of course they have another one that's just a practice round. It's just green and it's biodegradable. So you can go out there and practice all you want to, and when it rains, it'll just go away. But anyway, it's a really a cool technology and a great little gun. I've actually bought several of them, one for my wife and other ones for friends. But they're really a good um, alternative to just using a pistol. And the thing is, you don't have to have a pistol permit, and they're legal in all 50 states. So, boom. I mean, what's not to like about them? So, but this is the stock on it. It's BYRN. And I mean, I bought it when it was down at, $4 and bought some more at 12 and I bought some more at, 21. And now you can kind of see we're coming to some really big support down in here in this 25 and a half, $26 area. And they've been above that since the middle of December. And my thought is if you're trying to figure out a place to kind of buy this thing, I'd probably buy it between 25 and a half and 26 and a half and kind of scoop it up a little bit. And see if we go back up and test that 33, 34 area. And I mean, who doesn't want $8 out of a stock? And it's a cheap stock. I mean, it's only $26.90 right now. So you can buy 100 shares and it costs you $2,690, right? So that's just on a cash account. But I think it's a good stock to own longer term. They hit my big target when we were down at $9, $10. I figured it's going to get to somewhere between 30 and 35. It's done that. Its all-time high back in 2007 or 8 or whatever it was way back then, is up around $40, and that was on its IPO. I mean, it opened up, smacked up to $40, and then they nosedived it down to pennies. Just because it was a small startup company. It's still kind of a small company, don't get me wrong. I mean, it might get on to the Russell 2000. I mean, it's a small cap for sure, but I think it's getting better and better and better, and their products are getting better, and more people are using them. They're having more and more orders. So their sales are growing, the company's growing, and I think it's a good stock just to own for the long haul. And so, like I said, I've been buying it at several points here and there. I've paid for all the guns I've I've bought plus some. So that's one thing I like to do out of stocks and stuff like that. If I buy stuff from you, I'd like for you to pay me back somewhat. Now you can't ever get that back out of Walmart and Home Depot and stuff, but you can get some of it back anyway. But anyway, I think this is a good one to start kind of scooping up around this 25 and a half, 26 and a half area. You don't have to risk a whole lot in doing that. I mean, you can put your stop down at $23 and say, well, if it gets there, it's probably going to correct back down to probably not 18, 19, $20 anyway. So, and that would be probably even a better place to kind of scoop it up. So, but I've always been fond of this ever since actually my wife found it. I got home one day and I mean, she was looking for another pistol to own, and she doesn't like no real bullets all that much. And so she was just like, "Hey, I found this." And so I started digging into it, digging into the company. And my first thought was, after I was going through their website and checking out their stuff, like, this thing have stock? Because this thing sounds pretty cool. And they did. They had stock, BYRN. So I bought 500 shares of it. And when it went up some more, I bought another 500 shares of it. And I was like, well, okay, now I got 1,000 shares of it. And I dumped some off when it got to like $15, and it came back down. And so I bought some more back into it, and I've just been adding to my position on this thing's way up. So it's a really a cool stock to have. Um, and it is kind of volatile, as you can see here. I mean, 31 down to 25 and a half on a $30 stock. That's pretty good little whipsawing around there. I mean, you got 12% moves a lot of times, maybe 15% moves, but I think it's at a good point of support here. And I think you ought to kind of add in if you already got it. The ticker's up here in the top left. It's BYRN. In fact, I'll just type it in here. What the heck? That'll even help you out that much more. Oh, thank you, Dakota. I appreciate that. Um, so, but yeah, it's BYRN. And go check them out. I mean, don't just out and just buy it because I said so. I mean, go to their website, go check out their stuff. You'll find out a lot of news on them. And it's a really a cool thing. You might even want to buy one. I mean, they're really, really cool little guns. Um, and they use a CO2 canister, just like a paintball gun. Use a CO2 canister. And you can just, plow away on them. And they don't, I mean, like I said, they're non-lethal, but they'll stop people pretty fast. And they got these cool rifles. I haven't bought one of those things, but you can have a longer range with them. They shoot a pretty good distance, accurately. So they're really, really cool. You can even put a laser sight on if you want to. Haven't done that. Um, but anyway, but it's a cool thing if you do a lot of walking around and jogging and parks and stuff like that. It's great just to have one with you. That way people, if they start messing with you, you can mess with them back. So, but anyway. Um, but for right now, we've got PCE coming out tomorrow, and we'll see what the personal income and spending does. Do they make a big mess? No, they do not. Absolutely not. Um, actually, now I kind of live out in the woods a little bit. Okay. And I just put a target on a tree and just was plinking away at it. And with the little practice rounds, they have little green, biodegradable practice rounds. After a big rain, they're gone. So that didn't make a mess at all. If you're wanting to just, use the kinetics or use just to see what happens, make sure you're standing back because you don't want the pepper spray or the anything else on there. So, but no, they don't make a big mess at all. They come in a cool case. You can keep your gun in a case and all of your stuff in a case. And I mean, it's a nice little setup. Um, you can get the question is how much is it? If you get the pistol and you get some of the canisters of the different rounds and stuff like that, it'll run you about 350, $400. And they have a black one and they have an orange and black one. I got my wife the orange and black. I graduated from Oklahoma State. We're orange and black, and I just thought, look at that. Of course, people think Halloween, but another thing is you can see it. So, I mean, it is hunter orange and black. But go to the website and check them out. I think you'll be kind of impressed with them if you haven't ever looked at them. And especially if you have, kids, if daughter or whatever it may be, or grandkids or whatever it is that are old enough, it'll be well worth, them having some sort of protection with them. So I even got my daughter one. So, and she's like 32. So, but she thought it was awesome. But anyway, but anyhow, but if you have any questions, I mean, definitely check out their website. Am I bearish on oil like T-Buzz? Yeah, I am bearish on oil like T-Buzz. He and I talk quite a bit. And, um, you know, right now, and this is the weird thing about the energy markets. If you want to just want to chat about that for just real quickly. Um, China just put tariffs on all of our energy stuff. All right. Now, Trump just came out, what was it, this morning, and put another 10% tariff on China, but whatever. Um, but they put tariffs on that. Even Canada, which all of our imports, all right, which we don't import a ton of oil, but we do import oil. But really, about 60 to 70% of that oil that we import comes from Canada. And so, because of tariffs and everything like this that they're arguing about anything, they already have out of the Alberta sand uh, fields where they do a lot of the fracking and stuff like that. They already have a pipeline that goes from Alberta out to British Columbia, basically Vancouver. Um, but that thing only moves about 350,000 barrels a day or something like that. And they're going to bump that up. They're going to make it bigger and move about 900,000 barrels a day. Quite a bit, right? Um, but they're going to basically go from probably a 24-inch pipe to a 36-inch pipe or something like that. And they're going to start, pushing that out there. And once they get it there, of course, they're at the Pacific Ocean. They can go basically anywhere in the world. Ta-da! So they're going to up their exports by themselves as opposed to shipping it into the United States, us taking it down to the Gulf Coast and then exporting it that way. That's been kind of hurting oil. Not only that, of course, the energy secretary and Trump and everybody, even the interior secretary and everything like that, they're trying to open up more uh, federal lands to drilling and fracking and everything else. And Trump really wants to increase our output on crude oil. Well, in doing that, you're going to start getting a lot of surpluses, right? And if it's going to start building, I mean, if you look at, just go back to the last time Trump was no president, crude oil was down at between 25 and $35 a barrel. And crude could go right back down there again if they start producing oil like they did. So it's going to have a hard time going up, is my point. Even with, them putting sanctions on Iran, it didn't even do anything to crude. Trump just basically shut them down as far as money and everything like this, and they export a lot of oil. And he's putting a lot of sanctions on them now. And crude oil didn't even hardly blink an eye at that. It was just like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. And I was just like, wow, that should have shot crude oil back up to like 73, $74, and it didn't. So, which tells me there's more negative in crude than there is a positive. So, um, well, yeah, that's another thing that they're doing. And they haven't come out and said that yet. Oh, I'm sorry. The question was, are they starting to replenish the strategic oil reserve, which is out of Cushing, Oklahoma? They don't include that in the EIA Petroleum Status Report, but they should be doing that. I have not heard that they are, but he said he was going to. And with crude oil down here at 68, $67, I don't know why he wouldn't. But they haven't literally come out and said, hey, we're buying oil. Because if they do, well, then that'll probably, buoy the oil market a little bit here. And it might be too early in the administration. They just are getting all their secretaries. In fact, they had their first board meeting yesterday, right? So it might take them a month or so, but yeah, they're going to do that. I know. They might have already started doing it. I don't know. And I actually was digging through the EIA's website and the White House's website to see if they've, started doing that. And I can't find anything that says that it's doing it yet. But I'm sure when they do, people will know. And of course, we're together a couple times a week, so if I find out, I'll let you know. But they should be doing that here pretty soon. They said they're going to do it. I wouldn't question that one bit. So, yeah, that should be in there. There we go. So, but go check out Berna. I think you'll like them. In fact, you might even buy something from them. They're pretty cool. So, but anyway, but that's kind of where we're at right now. Let's see what PCE does tomorrow. Now, next week, I'm going to tell you this right now. Next week, I'm driving out to Florida, I'm going to be teaching a class with T-Buzz. We've got a futures class we'll be teaching out there. I'm driving out Tuesday. We're teaching Thursday, or Wednesday and Thursday, and I'll be driving back on Friday. So I'll be not around all that much next week. I'll be in Florida with T-Buzz. So be aware of that. So we might not be doing our Tuesday and our Thursday thing just because of all that. But anyway, we will get together for sure the next week. And I believe we're going to change Thursdays to 2 p.m. Eastern. Um, I've been big on it. Any thoughts on you? Well, I think, I mean, even if you start looking at what's going on right now in Texas, they're starting to build more data centers. They're going to need more energy. One thing about nuclear, it's not as fast as, throwing a rig out here in the middle of my field and, getting it drilled and plumbed and everything like that and throw a pump jack on it. You can do that in a couple months. It takes a little longer to build a nuclear reactor, even get an SMR, installed. So I think right now we've got a little pullback in the uh, uranium markets. The EUCs and the UUUs and all that good stuff is kind of pulling back a little bit, which might be a good opportunity to kind of scoop some more up, because I think in the longer term they are going to be moving higher. It's just a matter of time. So yeah, Pete, we do this. I do this twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays we do it at 2 o'clock. We've been doing Thursdays at 11. But we're going to move that to 2 o'clock to be consistent on both days. And that way everybody knows at 2 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be together and all that good stuff. So hopefully that'll be a little more consistent for people instead of getting jacked around at different times and everything like that. So, but yeah, these sessions are recorded. Thanks for posting that, Dakota. If you can go to the market radar, even if you go to prosperitypub.com/Geof Smith, it'll take you there as well. So, all right. Well, you all be safe. And go kick the tires on Berna here. Go check them out before don't buy them or anything like that. Go see what they got. And they got videos and stuff of them using them and everything like that. Just like I said, you can even get on YouTube and check them out. Yeah, but check them out and everything like that. I think you'll be impressed with them. I have. They paid me a lot of money, so I think they're going to pay us some more. So anyway, but thanks for tuning in, and for sure back week after next. As next week I'll be teaching and stuff like that. But we'll see how the markets do and see if they can recover or what they're doing. And just beware of this. We start March next week. All right. Historically, if you just go back in time, even go look at pandemic. When was the low made in pandemic? It was in March, right? Back in the 08 debacle, and they made that low in March of 09 before they took off. You see a lot of lows happen in March. So if they're going to use that excuse, the first 2 weeks might be a little rocky in March. I'm not saying that they will be, but they could be. And they could use that as an excuse to say, hey, by the middle of March, the Ides of March, they can flip things back around, and then they can have a nice little rally going into the summer or something like that. So just kind of beware of that. Right now, things are a little bit shaky. Kind of watch those year opens and you'll be fine. So, all righty. Thanks for tuning in and all, and we'll see you soon.